Welcome, everybody. I am Ruben, and you are listening to After the Master, a weekly podcast in which I talk to people primarily from the international student community who have recently earned a master's degree from globally leading programs and are now on the path to achieving their professional goals. My guests delve into their experiences and highlight their mistakes, learnings, and realizations, which I am sure will help you move closer to your career goals. I post a new episode every week, so please subscribe to receive updates. If you would like to listen to this episode, please see the description for a link to your favorite app and stick around till the end to gain as much as possible. I would love to hear from you, so please connect with me through the link in the description. In today's episode, Henyl shares his experiences of studying at an Ivy League and tells us about how one of his passions helped him get his dream job for which he didn't even apply to. He holds an MS in Construction Engineering and Management from Columbia University in New York City. Okay, hi Henyl.
Hi, Ruben.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking the time out from your super busy schedule.
I'm
I know
just
it's
happy I
not.
can help.
No, I know it's difficult for you. But yeah, I'm glad that you could make some time. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit about your work and your background?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, my name is Henyl Shah, and I did my undergrad from VIT University, a Vellore Institute of Technology, in civil engineering. Um, and Post that, I went for my master's to New York, Columbia University, for my master's in construction management. Thereafter, I worked in this company called AECOM for 2.5 years in the aviation field. And then I came back home to India to work with my family business.
Then, I have worked with a few people, and I know that a lot of people in India, especially those who have family businesses, at some point want to go abroad to specialize in a field, in whatever field they work in. So what was your reason, or what were your reasons for going abroad, to specialize in construction management straight after completing college? And why didn't you join your family business right away?
So honestly, even while I was applying for my undergrad degree, I was thinking of going to the US at first, but then taking up a field like civil engineering because our family background is in construction was very important. And since our family business is more focused in India, um, and civil engineering rules and standards vary depending on the country you're in. So it made more sense to get that degree in India first to set up the base knowledge and know how it is like the construction industry in India. But post that, I always wanted to get the exposure of studying in the US, of interacting with um, crowds from different cultures and from different countries. And I heard a lot of my friends going out there and saying wonderful things. So I always thought, why not? Let's give it a shot. But to your question, why I went directly to the US after my undergrad instead of working with my family business first. The reason is twofold. One being that I myself didn't feel too ready after doing my undergrad to immediately go to a working environment. I felt like there was still something lacking in terms of maturity, in terms of confidence. Also. And the second reason comes in retrospect um, from starting to work in our family business, where I feel like getting involved in a business is such where when you start making your own money, when you get involved in that financial circle, and when um, you're working constantly day in and day out, that becomes your passion. And once you're involved in it, it's really, really hard to get away from it in search for an education that you may or may not require at that point. Um, Even if you require that education while working, you will always be of the thought process that it may not. I'm making good enough money right now, so why do I need to go abroad, make that investment, and get a degree? What's it going to be worth to me when eventually I want to come to my family business? Um, so yes, those are the two reasons I think which
No, no, that makes a
are
lot of
on top of the list.
yeah, that makes sense. Actually, the second reason that you said, um, I've heard similar things from a lot of people. Like once you get into the rut of working and you're earning, then it becomes difficult to switch back to becoming a student, being a student.
Yes,
No,
true.
yeah, yeah,
And especially I would say in a business environment more than a job oriented environment, because in a job oriented environment one might want to get out of the 9 to 5 rut, and
yeah.
plus there might, I mean, there is passion, but you might always be looking for a change. Whereas in a family business, your mind is set that you're not going away from it anytime soon, because it's there and it's yours. So um, that's the reason it's hard to pull out.
Surely, surely. And were there any reasons for choosing Columbia University's construction management as compared to the other uh, colleges that you had applied to?
Yes, definitely. In fact, while applying, all of our mindsets are to get into the top five or top three colleges, being one of the rankers and being one of the bright students. And I was of that mindset too. When I applied, I just applied to all the top colleges. Um, but I would say that I had this intention of studying from an Ivy League college from the
Mm.
get-go, and Columbia was the only college which offered construction management as a degree from all the other Ivy League colleges. I think
Mm-hmm.
Cornell also does offer a similar degree, but it's only for people who've done undergrad in Cornell.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, so none of the other colleges offered such a course among the Ivy Leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that was one motivation.
Mm-hmm.
The other was, and for this, I spoke to a lot of students, a lot of my seniors who
Mm.
had studied in the US or who had applied to the US and were working there at the time I was
Mm-hmm.
applying.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, most of them suggested that I um, choose a college in a city environment
Mm-hmm.
rather than a college town environment,
Right.
um, as it would more be focused on the industry, on jobs, on practical studies. So, for example, when I went to Columbia, all our professors were all our classes were after 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
or at 7 a.m. The reason was that all our professors were people who were actually working in the industry from 9 to 5. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the only time they got. And I feel like that was a great value addition for us, because one, we actually got to learn what they were working on in the actual industry rather than just being academic oriented. Um, and the second is we made great connections with them. So skipping a bit ahead, I would say that it also kind of helped a lot of us get jobs after college.
Yes, yes. So I think you completed your course in 1.5. I mean, 1 year. Is that right? 1 year.
Yes. Y- yes.
But it was a 2 year program or a 1.5 year program.
So the course I took, it was 30 credits,
Right.
irrespective of the time you complete it in.
Okay. Okay.
Most students were known to complete it in 1.5 years, but there were a lot of students who were already working in the industry and doing this on the side. So some of them took 3 years or 2 years even.
Right.
But yes, me coming there directly from undergrad and not working anywhere at the time, my only focus was to get my degree and move forward. which is why I could get done in 1 year. Um, and our course was, I think it was comparatively easier. Um, like when I spoke to my colleagues in computer science and mechanical engineering,
Right.
um, I thought our syllabus was easy enough to get done in 1 year. Take extra credits. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
And when you went there, was your plan to work in the US for a little bit after you finish your masters, or were you planning on coming back to India straight after?
So honestly, after my undergrad, I was still a confused person,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I went to the US because I didn't feel ready enough to work straight away.
Yeah,
And I didn't have any plans. I had not made any plans on what to do after I complete my degree, even at that point. But as soon as I got to the US and I got started with our first semester and met a few alumni, a few of my classmates even, and we spoke about stuff, I had decided by then that I would be working. I would try to work in the US at least for a couple years before coming back to India.
right. So
And yeah.
go ahead.
No, so and I think that it was the right choice for me,
Okay,
because in terms of return on investment from spending towards your degree,
of
and
course, of
also
course.
also putting your degree to actual use straight away in the environment that you studied in. So like I studied in the US and I want to put that degree to use in the US before I come back to India because that's also a part of my education. Um,
Definitely.
it's called OPT, optical practical training.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's also part of my education, and I want to compare what I studied and how I worked there with how things are done in India, academics wise and work wise in India.
Right. No, no, that makes complete sense. And I know that you had a pretty good time working in the US for those during those 2 years. So you mentioned that when you started the program, um, you spoke with alumni, and I'm sure you must have taken help from the faculty there as they were part of the industry. And obviously, New York, Columbia is in New York, and New York being one of the biggest cities, when you went there, were there a couple of things you focused on once you realized that you wanted to work after the masters?
Yes, so I think it came with the flow. I mean, when I actually got there, I was more worried about getting an apartment and
Mhm.
settling down and whatnot. Trying to get the best of my courses, trying to register, getting the hang of a new university, all of that. But I think our professors were super helpful in talking to us about the industry as well as connecting us with other alumni. So, for example, we had this one professor who headed our department in civil engineering. His name was Dr. Rode and is Dr. Rode. And he led this program called GLCM, Global Leaders in Construction Management, where he selected, handpicked 7 or 8 students from our class of 200, I think. And that provided great opportunity being selected for that program to connect with other people from previous years who were selected in the same program. And it gave us a tight knit group to discuss, like, it was a discussion forum for us on what, like, things happening in the industry, even like it was a great community that was formed between us, and it was encouraged by these professors. So yeah, that was one of the things. The other was Columbia itself was very active in organizing events for us, which were mixers between alumni and current students, discipline wise, that too. And I mean, they even sponsored wine and beer in each of these events so that people get a little loose and talk with each other more. Um, and I think that helped a lot. Definitely.
Now, when you started talking to others, did you notice something that they were doing towards, like, other students, other your colleagues, were they doing something towards approaching, the humongous task of finding a job or an internship? And was that something that you were doing that you think others were not doing?
So I would say during the first semester, not many people were that worried about, looking for a job as building their profile first. They were more forced. Yeah, obviously, I mean, trying to build up your resume is the most important first before you start looking for a job, right? Or even start looking for an internship for that matter. And I think a lot of people around me, they were approaching our college counselor, uh, who helped them realize what was the most important part in their resume, or what their resume, which was already built by now, lacking. For example, I mean, they were so thorough. They even commented on your appearance, like in terms of being well groomed and wearing proper clothes and whatnot. So they were super super helpful. I think that was one bit. The other was there were career fairs that were being organized from the get-go, from the start. But I think it was more for the tech students. I mean, even the companies that came there for such fairs, they were more catered towards the tech students, the computer science, data science, even mechanical engineers to some extent. But it was not as much for civil engineers. So I don't think I paid as much attention to that part of college life.
You mean the
And
career
career
fairs?
fairs were, yes, for me, career
Right.
fairs were basically non-existent. And I
Okay.
always knew, I mean, from interacting with other people in the industry, I always um, thought that eventually people would, someone like I would get a job by getting in touch with someone who is in a company who would refer me by
Yes.
mouth.
Yes.
And I think it works most of the times that way,
It
because
does. Yeah.
most of these companies, they have a referral bonus
Yes. Yes.
concept, where even these alumni are, and I got to know that when I got my job and I started referring people, where we get these referral bonuses if we why I mean, why not? Like, why should I not refer a student who is from my college? So I know that he is supposed to be good, and I get a nice bonus out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so alumni were interested in referring us to jobs as much as we were interested in approaching them. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that was my go-to alumni, the alumni network, always. Um, as soon as I started getting into second year with respect to settling down in college.
Excellent. And Vishal, when I spoke with Vishal, he told me that I think he tried to approach ACOM and through you, but
Yeah,
because probably they were not hiring from outside New York. So I think that is why
yeah.
he couldn't get through. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very big thing when you are in a certain area,
Mm.
um, applying for jobs in a
Mm.
multinational, and they are client centric. These companies have to send your resume to these clients, and when it's acceptable to the clients, who are a lot of times government clients,
Mm.
then they will hire you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is condition based, right? And those government clients in civil and in the construction industry, they will prefer getting engineers from their locality, their area, rather than from another state.
Right. Vishal also pretty much said the same thing when I spoke with him, and
Okay.
that is true. Not just I think in construction or structural engineering, but across a lot of fields. Of course, it's not a
Yeah.
hard requirement, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in both of your experiences, that was the case. So I think people should be aware of the fact that if you choose, I mean, when they choose programs, they should also consider what the market is like in that state or in
Mm.
nearby cities.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who come to me for advice in terms
Mm-hmm.
of how to apply, where to apply. And the first thing I tell them is do not look at college rankings. I
Mm.
went to Columbia, and Columbia is ranked 23 on the list of civil engineering colleges when at the time I applied. And I did get into Michigan Ann Arbor. I did get into Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
Yeah.
I did get into Purdue University and all those colleges which are among the top five. But I still chose to go to Columbia for the very reason that it is situated in the middle of a city, a proper city, where the construction industry is massive. So I think that was helpful. It's not how academically brilliant our university is; it's what it offers around it, what the environment is, and how specific to your course it is.
Surely. And the ranking thing, one other, in another podcast, my guest, she completely busts this myth about rankings. So coming back to, your job search phase, I would say,
Mm.
what was your experience like? Was it tough? I mean, your approach was to try and speak to alumni and get through via referrals. So was it did you have a tough time finding people or getting interviews using that approach?
Uh, so in my opinion, I think so. People around me, they were applying online to a lot of jobs. I think I've seen people apply to like 20 job positions in a day,
Yeah, yeah.
for every single day, and they've gone to like 100 to 150 positions, multiple interviews with no recourse. So the strategy I went for was, like you said, to go and tap the alumni network and go in by referral, by direct referral. And I was lucky in a way to find those people who I could connect with and communicate with for a longer period of time. So it's not like you just go to a person and be like, "Hey, by the way, I'm from your college, and can I get a job in your in the company you work for?" It doesn't work that way. That person has to like you, and you need to like that person back in order
Yeah.
to develop that rapport before you approach that topic, right? Before you broach the topic. And I tried doing that, and um, I mean, you get turned down in a few cases, and you're successful in a few cases. But yes, so I think that really helped me just focusing on building. I mean, going out on like dinners with certain alumni, taking my professor's help to do it, and also I feel you have to go at it with a really open mind and get out of your comfort zone to
Mhm.
be able to do that. So yeah,
Can
that
you
was
elaborate a little bit about what do you mean by going outside your comfort zone? So in your experience, how did you go beyond your comfort zone?
So I always was an introvert till I came to the US, but um, then coming there, I think a few networking events, I could not just randomly go to a person and talk to them because there was this
Mm.
cold air between. I mean, there was this sudden cold stare between us, and I did not know what to talk. And that came with the mindset of me wanting to entertain that person and trying to
Mhm.
please that person rather
Mhm.
than it being a normal conversation between two people, right?
Okay.
um, and that really it puts you off and puts the person in front of you off.
Mhm.
So because then it becomes like a teacher student relationship when you were a kid, but you don't want it to be that. So uh, eventually trying to approach it casually and trying to be friends with the person, connecting on topics other than work or other than studies.
Mm.
I think that helped develop the initial connect. And then the person, in my experience and in my case, people who I connected with, they approached me themselves
Okay.
eventually, telling me about openings in their company because they wanted me to come to their company. Now that I'm their friend, they were like, "Oh, it'll be cool if Henyl came and worked with me," you know.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
I think three people they approached me saying that this is an opening, and if you're interested, I'll talk to my superior about you. And recommend you. So, and that really, really works. I got accepted in all three positions. And that was before I graduated and without any internships.
Well,
So,
that's wonderful. I mean,
yeah,
within those first few months, from being aloof about how to crack, how to break the ice between someone, a stranger, practically, right?
yeah,
And Vishal, uh, he spoke a lot about connecting with others culturally through football, American football.
okay,
So he said, he started following football a lot, and the football aspect worked, like a charm for him, and
yeah,
he could, he could, he became friends with some of
yeah,
those guys, and
yeah.
probably is still friends with them because of the
Mm,
football
yeah,
aspect. So, was there
yeah.
something like that in your case?
No, it was so. I mean, I think when you want to be friends with someone, you cannot force it. I feel you can just. I mean, you read the person and you judge what they like. I mean, it's as simple as opening when you have a glass of beer. Both of you have a glass of beer. It's as good as opening with what kind of beer do you like, you know?
Right.
And then
Right.
it slowly moves on to what kind of food do you like, and
Yeah.
so on. And then it becomes it goes to say you were planning to take a trip somewhere and like food about like food in that region,
Mm.
and then it goes to a lot of things, and it's just a flowing conversation.
It is. It
And
is.
I think uh, that's some people do that a lot. When I talked about trying to please the other person and trying to get into someone else's comfort zone uh, while being outside yours, I feel like a lot of people learned learned a lot of things in order
Mm-hmm.
to bring it up in conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
things that they were not passionate about, you
I
know.
see. I see.
And that comes through
Right.
a lot of times. So
Right.
I know a lot of friends uh, who learned a lot about American things that they did not know about like 15 days back. And then
Okay.
bringing that into a conversation, and then when a person you're conversing with
Right. Right.
asks you something that you're not aware of because you've skipped that part of your syllabus.
Yeah.
So
I think that
then that becomes very awkward.
I think the aspect that you have to be genuine and you have to be passionate. So Vishal,
Yes,
again talking
that's
about
most,
Vishal,
yeah.
yeah, he
Yeah, Vishal is
became
Vishal. Yeah,
we
yeah.
know Vishal. He became such a big
Yes,
fan of the sport himself. So it
he
worked
became
out
a
for
fan
him.
of football. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, right.
Yes, yes. So bringing up when you're talking to an American, I think bringing up American things will definitely help, but it will help only if you like those things.
Yeah, I think that's an important point that we missed talking about earlier. But
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
glad that you brought that.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about not wanting to please that person, but wanting to connect with the person.
Yeah,
That's where everything stems from.
right, right, yeah. Now, apart from the networking and meeting people and trying to crack the alumni network, was there anything particular about the course, the curriculum that you think helped you a lot?
I think our curriculum in Columbia University, at least, it was very open-ended, where there were too many subjects to choose from.
Okay.
And Columbia obviously has a very, very renowned business school and a
Yeah. Yeah.
very renowned law school. And
Yes.
even those schools were open for us to take courses from in our 30 credits, and they would be counted towards our credits. Um, so that was a good thing. I felt I took two courses from the business school and one course from the law school. And it I think the course from law school, construction industry law, it really helped me in interpreting contracts, interpreting, making my English better, even because there are a lot of things that I mean, everyone knows how to speak English and everyone knows how to write English for sure, but there are certain phrases and certain vernacs that Americans use that Indians might not be aware of in the way you approach things. So I think that gave us a lot of exposure. Um, and then there was in the business school there was contract negotiations and such courses which helped academically, but it also helped to interact with those students sitting around us and learning about them and learning how they ran, like eventually wanting to go to a business environment. It was a great interaction with them. In the law school, I feel like there were a lot of courses which were technical uh, and management oriented. It was a mixture of two. So I think and there were some courses that were a repeat of what we had already done in undergrad,
Mhm.
but then they were important to take because the professors who were taking them were actually from a great company,
Mm.
and they were teaching. So why miss the chance of trying to interact with them in the hopes of getting a job in their company, because all these professors are like vice presidents and like at very senior positions in the companies they work for. So, and I think a lot of students took those courses for that very reason,
Yeah.
not caring about the credit or the education in on that one subject, but treating it as a 6 month long interview with that person, I guess.
Yes. And were there any um, challenges that you think you faced throughout the program, or um, either challenges or any mistakes you think you made?
My greatest challenge was just attending college in winter, but I think it was a very fun experience. To be honest, I don't think I know a lot of people do struggle,
Mhm.
but in my case, my one of my struggles was, and one of the things I think I could have done more was getting involved with college clubs. But again, I
Yeah.
was always going to be there for just 1 year, not even a year and a half, which is why it was difficult to be associated with one of these college clubs.
In
So I
terms of
think,
time, like difficult to
yeah,
be
in terms of,
associated?
yes, in terms of giving your time,
Okay.
because a lot of these clubs are full of undergrad students.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and they are there for 4 years, so they have the time to give. But us, we just want to finish our course soon enough to get a job, get our
Yeah.
return on investment, and then look ahead. So in that sense, I think, and also the reason was, so I think New York is so rich with opportunities that the more you explore, the less it is. So, for example, I actually pursued my pilot's license.
Yep.
And that was in Long Island. So every weekend on Saturday and Sunday, I would be in Long Island trying to build up my flying hours. And you never know what is going to help. So
Mm.
actually, getting my pilot's license helped me get my dream job, which was in aviation in the construction industry. I was working at an airport as a civil engineer, and the only reason was that in my interview for that job application, I had applied for another position, but I told them that I was doing this on the side, and I might need a few hours off here and there. And they were actually looking for someone to work at an airport, and who better than a pilot who can speak to the tower and who knows the jargon,
Exactly.
and who's also a civil engineer, right? So that actually worked in my favor,
Very
and I
well.
had
Yeah.
never thought about it that way. I mean, I'd just done it because it was my passion. So I
Yes.
think things will just help you out of the blue when you just focus on your journey rather than making things difficult for you. I think imagining difficulties is the worst enemy you can have, rather than letting it come to you and then passing every moment as it comes.
I was actually thinking about your flying experience, about because you mentioned that you were
Yeah.
interested in aviation, and your I think one of your projects is related to that now. Also, is there one piece of advice you think if you had at the time before going to the US or in the early stages, would there be something like that that would have helped you a lot if you had known?
Um, I think the thing that I tell most people is that after your undergrad, loosen up a little. Once you go there, focus on enjoying and having fun as much as focusing on your education. That will happen for sure, and it's not very hard. But at the same time, if you if you lose your coolness, if you lose your cheerful state of mind, it's most it's very important to be liked by the people around you and not be considered a dull person, because that is eventually not going to work in your favor at the university or at your job. So I feel like being a fun person along with uh, getting done with your studies, that always helps. And I feel like in the first semester of college, I was not that. I was just focusing on studies and trying to get that 4 point GPA,
Mm.
which I did get, but at what cost? Because the job that I got, the job profile I got was achieved by someone else from another college, not as renowned as Columbia, and not
Okay.
with a 4.0 average GPA. So it's your academics is only going to help you so much, but
Mm.
after that, you just being a cheerful person is going to help you and everyone around you more.
And apart
So
from
I
that, even in the first episode, what Pooja said is, you try to gather experiences. It's fine if you probably don't get an internship in the first break.
definitely,
It's fine.
definitely,
You can
yeah,
there's a lot to do, especially
yeah.
in a
Travel,
country
make
like the
friends,
US. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, travel, make friends, go on ski trips, go kayaking,
yep,
go
yep.
hiking. Yeah, all of these are experiences not to miss.
Definitely. I also, and I didn't talk about this in that episode, but that is, I kind of realized this at some point in the first semester, which is why when I had the opportunity to go to Madagascar, I took it, even though,
Yeah,
i- going there is a different ball game by
yeah,
itself, but just as an experience, going to
yeah,
Africa, a place that I was interested in working in, and the opportunity was just too good to miss. So
yeah, definitely.
I second what you said, what you say.
Mm.
In addition, it's good to try and gather as much experience as you can outside the classroom and
Yes.
the
Yeah.
work related
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's also how you're going to connect with people, right? If you want to
Yeah,
stay there for
yeah,
long, or if you want to come back and stay there for a short time, that's how you're going to make friends. Even if you want to come back to India. I mean, I still have my friends there who I am still in touch with.
hmm,
And this is how you connect, you know?
yeah. And I know that you were also in touch with uh, some of the faculty in Columbia because you occasionally give lectures. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So Dr. Rode, who I mentioned
Mm.
earlier in this podcast, he's been a great mentor of mine. So from the get-go, being selected in GLCM and then um, trying to get a job. I got my job through a person I met through Dr. Rode, who's also
Okay.
from Columbia, who was an alumni of Columbia. So yeah, I mean, it was tapping the alumni network, but at the same time, it was through Dr. Rode. So I
Mhm.
think he helped me a lot. And then even while I was there, uh, I made it a point to um, keep in touch with the university.
Mhm.
So even while working for AECOM, I used to go to Columbia to um, as a panelist to grade real estate finance classes and just to give random guest lectures. I used to approach faculty by myself, asking them if they need my help in something, and just that frequent contact and that frequent touch will let them know that you're interested, and when something comes up, they will always get back in touch with you. So that was always there. And then even when I came back to India, I the GLCM network that I was a part of, um, that the current batch of GLCM had decided to come to India to do their research. So in my year, we had decided to go to Malaysia and meet with various companies and construction experts to get to know the industry there. Um, but now this time, while I'm in India and Columbia students are coming to India, Dr. Ode thought of me. I mean, sure, there were other students from Mumbai who had come back to Mumbai and who had businesses here, but because I kept in frequent touch with him, he got back in touch with me, and they decided to visit our company and our projects. And they enjoyed so much that after that, Dr. Rode came up with an international construction management class where every lecture they focused on a specific city or country and best
Okay.
construction practices there. So since the last 3 years, I've been representing the Indian interest of at the International Construction Management class, which is speared by Dr. Rode.
This is a great example of how, just keeping in touch with and building. Of course, it all depends on how well you can build the initial rapport and relationship with those in your immediate surroundings. But it's a great example of how, things can pan out uh, over 3 to 4 or 5 years, just with that
Yeah,
first.
definitely. I mean, to think about it, I graduated in 2016, which is like 6 years from now.
Yeah, yeah,
And uh, at this point, it's not a one-sided relationship. It's not
of
just
course.
me contributing to Colombia. Just very recently, Dr. Rode approached me, and he told me that so there's this guy who is in the parking industry, and we also own a parking company, and we are trying to get to the US. So he is trying to help us connect to developers, builders, and parking experts all over the US so that we can set up shop there. So
Okay.
that student teacher relationship has now matured to a partnership
Yep,
relationship.
yep.
And that's brilliant, I think. I mean, no one would have thought, I wouldn't have thought going to
Of
Colombia that
course,
something like this would happen.
definitely, definitely. So you've spoken, quite in depth of. You've given some great pointers for the job search, but is there something specific that you think students or budding professionals who want to work in the construction management industry in the US should know? Something that probably you realized a little later while working at ACOM?
Uh, so even before, while applying to AECOM, I realized this. If someone wants to really get into construction management, focus more on your soft skills
Mhm.
than building up your technical resume. I faced a problem where I had too many research papers, which I thought would help me, and I had too many technical subjects rather than management subjects from my undergrad, and a few from my a few from Columbia as well, that I thought would again help me. But while applying, AECOM thought that I was more of a technical person than a management oriented person, and they wanted to push me to a designing part of the job
Mhm.
rather than what I actually wanted to do.
Mhm.
So stop thinking about, I would say one should stop thinking about just building their profile, because that can also work in the negative sense, and rather specifically for construction management, um, focus more on I would say focus more on practical knowledge and soft skills. The way you talk, the way you present, multitasking, all of that.
And do you think people who don't have prior work experience before their masters, do such people have a disadvantage as compared to those who may have some work experience?
Uh, I think obviously, and it would make sense in terms of negotiating a package.
Okay.
A person with more experience. I mean, I had colleagues who had worked for 2 years and then were applying for jobs. They definitely started more with more than I had started with. Eventually, all of us hit level playing ground after a year, after they see your performance, after they
Yeah.
start valuing you for the person you are and what the output you give. But in the initial phase, when they do not know you at all, just based on the interview and your resume, I feel like a person who has more experience would definitely command a higher package,
Yes.
so to say. But it is valid because they have worked for 2 years and they are older than you. So it's just basic. I mean, that's that should not pull you away from not going for the degree because you don't have experience, because you
But
will eventually get it and you'll get to their level in the 2 years that you spent that they had already spent, and you'll probably reach higher because you're working in the US and are staying still in the US, so your experience is valued, your 2 years in the US are valued more than your 2 years abroad.
yeah, I think you've hit all the specifics that people should know. And there is this one question that I'd like to end each episode with, which
Yeah.
is, when would you consider yourself successful?
um, I think that's I think I would consider myself successful uh, when I, I don't think that's ever going to be a case where I consider myself successful, because I'm always trying to grow. I'm always going to try and grow, and I'm always going to try and take advice from other people. Um, so I think successful has a lot of dimensions to it. So to say, I mean, from the point of view that being self-sufficient and being well known in the industry at this point, where I work at in Mumbai, all of those factors might, I mean, might have an angle towards successful, but I personally wouldn't consider myself successful even at like infinity time, because you're always trying to learn, you're always trying to
You,
gather, and
I think in your statement SOP, when you were applying, your opening line or somewhere in the opening paragraph, you had mentioned that you want to um, transform or build your $1 million family business into a $1 billion business. Is that true? Did you write something like
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, adding a zero to our current valuation would
Right.
definitely be considered successful. But I think that was an immature. I mean, I
Yeah. Yeah.
consider
I
success
mean, I'm.
all round and
Yeah.
not just in terms of my business. And thinking about it from an all round point of view, I feel that uh, it's a
It's a
momentum to
milestone,
achieve
but
it.
probably, I
Yeah.
mean, there's still a
Yeah.
lot more than that.
Yeah, because I feel when I start giving back to society,
Mm.
and uh, stop thinking about making money and instead start thinking about how to spend the money I have made
Mhm.
for the good of the society, that would be a point where I could call myself successful. That now I've stopped thinking about growing, and now I want others around me to grow.
Excellent. I completely resonate with that. I think we share a common perspective there. But yeah, this was amazing. I think in addition to what Vishal said, which is from a very different set of experiences that
Yeah.
I think the both of you combined would be very meaningful to a lot of the budding civil engineers or construction managers out there. So once
Yeah, I
again,
hope so.
yeah, thank you so much once again for being on my podcast, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you. I had fun too.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please share this within your network and please subscribe to stay tuned. Thank you.